Hello there, it's Jan from JB Crafts, and I'm back today with another of my sketch challenges. Now, I did talk about this last month, and bearing in mind that this is sketch number 12, I think this is going to be the last one for a little while. I'm not going to give it up completely. I may throw an odd sketch in just in the normal run of my tutorials. I normally upload Tuesdays and Saturdays, and this is for July, and the 1st of July just happened to be a Tuesday. So I'm going to use this one for today's tutorial. It's a really simple one. It's quite a special one in a way, and I'll talk about that when I show you what I've done. But yeah, sketch number 12, we started this in August last year, and I've done one a month on the 1st of the month, or around the 1st of the month, for 12 months. So we've got a whole series. There's a playlist on the channel. If you've only come across this today, you could check out some of the other sketches. And I know a lot of you have really enjoyed playing along with this and just having a go, you know, using the sketch to give you your own interpretation of it. And a sketch is pretty much that. It's just an idea for interpretation. So you can do, you know, whatever you fancy, whatever you've got access to. I'm going to show you what I've used on mine, and we'll talk about, you know, what you could use instead. For example, it doesn't have to be stars. These could be flowers, they could be circles, they could be butterflies, they could be buttons. You know, it's just the placement of them. There's a reason why I've picked the stars, and I'll show you in a second. But yeah, so this is my one for July, and you can find me over at Facebook and JB Crafts as well. And I know some of you have uploaded your photos there when you've played along with the challenge. So yeah, if you want to use the sketch as a prompt and have a go at making something, do upload the photos for me. I do try and check in there every so often. So let's have a little look. It's slightly different today. It's something, to be honest, I don't know whether I've ever made this size card before. We've covered 7x5 in the sketch challenge. We've done DL cards. We've done square cards. Don't think I've ever done this size. And this is actually an A2 size, which is an American size card. And it's done purely to match the cardstock over there, which is a slightly different measurement to ours. So we'll talk through that in a second. But I've made it for a reason, because it's the 1st of July today. I've actually gone down this kind of line for Happy 4th of July later in the week, and this is to all my American friends out there, which I know a lot of you are in the States. A lot of you used to watch when I was working for Crafters Companion, and several of you I know have followed me onto the channel, and I will be forever grateful for that. It's given me an outlet for my crafts. So this one is for you guys stateside, just to say thank you for the support, and you know, for the encouragement and keeping us going when everything happened, you know, last year. Those of you that was with me back at the start, you know why this all sort of evolved. I'm not going to go into that in great detail now because we've moved on, but yeah, just happy 4th of July for, what will that be, Tuesday, 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And I know there's lots and lots of celebrations over in the States. We don't have that celebration here, but that doesn't mean that I can't celebrate with you guys. So this is what I came up with on an A2 card. And the A2 card is 5.5 tall by 4.25. And I'm just going to double check. I'm sure that's right. I'm just going to double check. And let's just give it a measure. We'll flip it over. And yeah, we've got 5.5 inches tall by 4.25 inches wide. And the reason for that, like I said earlier, is the cardstock, the what we call A4 cardstock here in the UK, are slightly different measurements in the US. I think it's classed as letter size in the US, and it's actually 11 inches long. So it's a little bit shorter than ours in the length. Ours is 11, just under 3/4 of an inch long, but it's slightly wider in the width. It's 8.5 inches wide, whereas ours is only 8.25. So yeah, if you've got a piece of A4 card, if I just grab a piece of my plain white cardstock, I'll show you what I mean. So this is my A4 here in the UK, which is it's 8 3/4, just under 8 3/4. It's a ridiculous measurement. I'm not quite sure whoever came up with it, how it evolved. And then it's 8.25 inches wide. So yes, we could do something similar to this. I know over in the States, you guys, all you have to do is cut your card in half this way or this way, and you can make two of these A2 cards out of your piece of letter size. Now we could do that here, and it would be slightly different dimensions. We'd be able to get it just a fraction taller and a fraction narrower. And I tried that, but it didn't look right. It looked odd. The sizes looked odd. So all I did was actually cut mine this way, and I cut it at 4¼ inches and again at 4¼ inches, and then I made my height. So I only got one out of my piece of cardstock, and it's actually joined, the two pieces are joined together on the hinge here. Okay, so I've actually got two pieces of card. I wanted to make the top folding what I tend to call a tent fold, and could have had a fold here, and I would have done the same. I would have done the height. I would have got the 5½ out twice and done it that way. So that's how I utilise my piece of cardstock, and just did it to make those measurements. And then it was a case of, right, I knew I wanted to do the red, white and blue. Okay, obviously big colours over in the US, and I wanted to incorporate the stars, obviously, on the flag on the US, and I didn't have any striped paper, but I've sort of gone with this piece of vellum across here just to give that sort of horizontal effect there over the vertical banners. And as I say, we've got the colours in there. So really simple. It's not a difficult one. It was all done from scraps again, so it's a great scrap busting one. I have actually put my background, it's just got a tiny bit of texture on here, just through a random dotty embossing folder, just to give that white space a little bit of texture, and it also matched the dots on my piece of paper. These papers I've had in my stash for a while. I think this is actually a printable one that I've had for a while. This is actually from a Christmas paper pad. It's got a Christmassy pattern on the other side, but the stars were lovely on there. And then again, as I say, just delving into the scraps, and then my happy 4th of July. And then I've done a very simple insert to go inside it. Celebrate your day. I had one of the stars left over, and you can just see here where I've actually joined the two pieces together. So I've left a 1/2 inch tab on this one. So I cut this one at 6, scored it at 1/2 inch, and then I've attached it to the other piece for the front. So I'm going to show you how I've popped it together. As I say, fairly straightforward. There's nothing difficult about this one at all. So yeah, my card blank there, I've popped the card together. I've cut my two pieces of card at 4½ inches wide, and then I've cut this one at 5½ and this one at 6 inches. I've made that 1/2 inch glue tab, and I've been able to create that card that is an A2 card size. Okay, and then I wanted a layer to put on top of it. You could work straight onto your card blank, absolutely fine, but I do like that sort of, it just gives that tiny little frame. Although it's white on white, I wanted to keep that background simple so that it didn't detract from the design. It is white on white, and I've achieved it just with a little bit of elevation. I've got just 1.5, I think it is, millimeter foam tape underneath it. And I've done a panel to go on there, which is 5¼ by 4. So I've just come down 1/4 inch on each measurement, because it is a slightly smaller space than what we're used to here in the UK. But I do actually quite like the size. It's a nice little size to work on. It's not too overwhelming. If you're a beginner crafter, it doesn't give you that big white space that you think, oh, what do I do next? What do I do with it? And I've actually ran this one through my embossing folder. It is actually intended to be like a snowfall, because the dots, they're graded from bigger to less of them and smaller at the bottom. But for what I've used it for here, I don't think it's that obvious. I just wanted some random shape in the background, just to give it that little bit of texture. If I turn it over, you can see the indentation there on the back. And we're going to work on this piece before I attach it to the card. So I want this piece at the ready, and then I've actually cut my pieces to do the background. So we have got the two banners, which were done from, as I say, scrap paper. And this one is, as I say, I think was a printable one that I've had for a very long time. It's one that I've printed off on my own printer at home. Let's just have a look at some dimensions. This was very much done by eye. It was like, I want it roughly that wide, but roughly doesn't work for Jan. It has to be a measurement. So it was 2 inches wide. I couldn't just cut it on the guillotine. It had to have a dimension. So yeah, 2 inches wide. And the actual banner itself is 4¼ inches long. And then I've just measured where my centre was at 1 inch, and then just chopped in to put the flag tail on the bottom. And that was going to go down first, and then I wanted a slightly smaller one. So again, this one is 1½ inches wide, and it was 3¼ so it's 1 inch shorter and ½ an inch on the width. And I want those to overlap like this, so we're going to pop those down first and onto the background. And I'm going to use a little bit of my acrylic glue here. Excuse me, I've been getting on quite well with this. This one was a new glue to me a little while ago because I was struggling to source, and it was getting very expensive for the one that I've always used, the Cosmic Shimmer acrylic glue, and I love it. Don't get me wrong, I absolutely love it, but it was getting quite expensive. So I thought someone had tried this and they'd had it recommended, and I thought, oh, I'll give it a go. It was on offer, and I do quite like it. It's quite a quick grab one. So I don't tend to use it if I'm wanting to position something, like a mat and layer where you need to hover and get things in place. It doesn't have a massive amount of sort of wriggle room on it, but it's a great adhesive from the point of view of sticking, which is what you want an adhesive to do, I suppose. We're going to do the same with this one. You can see here it's got some, it's got a bit of lace, and then there were like snowflakes on the back of it. So again, I'm going to use that same glue on here. And then we're just going to position this one almost so that the flag is halfway, but not quite. I'm going to just pop it in a little bit so that they're overlapped. And I've overlapped them approximately 7/8 of an inch, just approximately. And then I want to make sure that that's right up to the top of the card. Come on. As I say, it's quite a quick grab. That's the only thing with it, the glue. Let me just give that another layer. My old Cosmic Shimmer had a little bit more wriggle room. Now, it's not such a bad thing because you do get a really nice stick. But from the point of view of moving it around on the card, you've got to be fairly precise with it. And I want it to go right up to that top edge like that. That's better. We've got it this time. And then give it a good press down. And then I started placing my stars over the top of it when I was creating this, because as I've mentioned before, I create the card and then I create the sketch for what I've ended up with. And I had an idea in my mind of what I wanted this to look like. And I started placing the stars on here, and they got a little bit lost, I thought, with the background. It was getting a bit busy. So the easiest way to combat that is to bring in vellum. It lifts. It doesn't cover up, but it lifts that background and separates it from anything that you pop on top. So the panel here is going to be vellum. It doesn't have to be. And this is the beauty about a sketch. They are just an idea. It's possible to create these flag banners. They're very simple to create the flag parts on the bottom from your scraps. But this could be another piece of white card. You could have a piece of white card breaking this up completely if you wanted to do something else on the top. It could be a third piece of pattern paper that complements these. I wanted the vellum because I wanted to break up that background from what we're going to pop on top. And I'm going to come down about 3/4 of an inch or so from the top, and we're going to wrap this around, and I've put some tape on the back of mine ready to just stick it down. So I just want to wrap that around the card itself, and this is why I didn't stick it onto the background first, onto the card itself. So yeah, we'll take off the liner and just give those a press into place. Make sure that it's nice and straight. And just before I pop that one down, I am just going to put a little bit of my tape runner underneath where I know that large star is going to go. Okay. So again, I make sure that that's running straight now across the top there. Wrap it round the back. And I've just got a little bit, and you can see this is the problem with vellum. You can just see where I've put that tape underneath, but we're going to put an embellishment over there, which is why I chose that spot. But it stops the vellum from bowing when you add your embellishments on the top. So we can actually attach this to the card now. We've done the bits that I need to do. And just for the purpose of the video, I'm going to pop this one on flat. We don't always like the dimension, especially if you're popping cards in the mail. I don't know about the States, but here, our sorting machines here in the UK don't like anything that's got dimension on. My husband used to work for the Royal Mail for a very long time, and he says the number of things that got damaged, even just with, I mean, you know how much I love my gems, just gems and things like that. Any regular size letters went in a machine to sort them. And he says it just used to rag the envelopes, and once the envelopes were torn, it could damage the card. It could, you know, if there was anything loose, it would knock it off. He says the number of things that got damaged because of that sort of height, or, you know, different embellishments on it. So yeah, we'll pop this one flat. You know, you've still got that little border. Yes, you could pop a matte layer underneath if you wish, but I didn't want to add any more colour. I wanted to just focus on what we've got on here. And then what I've done is I've created a series of stars, just using some of my nesting stars. And then I have got a little tiny die, star die, this one, that's from a different set. So the actual stars themselves are a set that I was gifted actually from my friend over in the States, and they're a waffle flower nesting die set. So the majority of them have been cut from here. So I've got that one with the 4th of July stamped on it, and then I went down to the next one, and then I went down to the smallest one in that set here, and then I wanted a smaller one even still, and I do have just an odd, I can't even remember where it's from. It's just an odd little tiny star die. And I've got a strip of magnet at the side of me here to the left that's stuck to my cabinet. And some of these dies just stay on the magnet because they're ones that I use quite often. Now again, I popped this one on. I've just got a very small, they're only just over 1 millimetre. They're not even quite, I said 1.5 mil, but they're not even quite that. And I'm just going to put a little bit of this on here, and we're going to position this one first so that I can then work with the rest of them. So I want the stamp, I tilted this when I stamped it, but I want the stamp to be straight. So we're going to overlap here around about there so that it covers up what I did underneath. And I've got a bit of the star popping out onto the blue and into that red area, and that's the main one. And then the rest of them were just clustered round it. And when I'm doing anything like this, I always pop everything down dry first to make sure that I'm happy with the placement. And then once I'm happy with it, I can add the glue and pop them in place. So this one's going to go here to help anchor that vellum. And I want to bring this one just off the red so that it pops into the white again. Give that a press down. And then we've got the red one is going to go higher up. And like I said, these don't have to be stars. You know, you could still include the banners in the background, and you could pop, as I say, butterflies on here. There could be circles on here. There could be stamped embellishments on here. They could be buttons, anything like that. This one's going to go into the white space there and just connect that red so that they're not just all floating around. I've just got one that's going to be separate. Again, so I've got 2 red ones, 2 blue ones, and 2 white ones. So yeah, there are 6, but I felt that it needed it. This one's going to go over the blue spots, and then this blue one I'm going to bring right to the bottom. So if you don't want to invade that white space, you might leave this one off, but I just felt, because I'd got 2 of the other colours, I wanted 2 of the blue as well. And I'm just going to bring this one right to that bottom corner. And then the little one, the reason for the 6 was, having got to this point, I had 2 blue, I had 2 red, and you know what I'm like. The OCD dictated that I needed 2 white ones as well. So yeah, this is where the little dinky one came in, just as a final touch. And I'm going to link these bits together here. And then I've just stamped out one of my own sentiments here and just blocked it off to make a little extra sentiment here with a bit of the glue. And this one's just going to say bridge, again, those two pieces, so it brings everything together. So I've got it across both of the banners, just literally bringing everything in together. And on the here, I'd actually put the sentiment up here, but because of what I was doing, I was able to stamp on that main star as well. So you can see there, let's just put the lid on now. Nice simple little layout. As I say, scrap busting again, it's used mainly, well, mostly all of the scraps. None of these were actually cut from main pieces of paper. These were in my red and blue scrap folders, and then I keep nearly all the scraps of my textured cardstock. I've got a lot of linen textured cardstock, and they all go in a pack, and this has all come out of here. And then obviously the stamping here, you know, I've got bits, I've constantly got bits at the side of me that are cut off from the white card, and they're what I use for stamping any extra pieces on. So that is the sketch on that A2 size, and I can't believe in the whole time that I've been crafting, the whole time, not just my my life at Crafter's Companion, I've been crafting for a very, very long time. This is the first time I think I've ever made the A2. So I'm quite proud of myself. And yes, it was done for a reason, as I say, just as a shout out to you guys stateside. And I thank you for all the support. And then just to finish off, as always, you know me and my gems. Again, I didn't want to detract, so I've just gone for a clear, shiny gem. 5 of those through, you know, the design, following the stars up through the sentiment and off the other side. And then I did have one of the little stars. I don't know how I ended up with a small red one, but I did. And I've just put a celebrate your day. No ink on this one at all, which is unusual for me. I wanted to keep it relatively clean, and just that little one inside, just to echo what's happening on the front on that top fold. So that is my design today for that last sketch challenge. So this is July 2025. This is sketch number 12. So we've got a whole series of these. As I said, they're on a playlist on the channel under sketch challenge, and I will bring them back in. As I say, periodically we'll throw a sketch into the mix, but rather than doing them on the first of each month, I've got a new idea to have a go at that I've not tried yet, and whether I will do it at the first of the month or whether it'll be the first Tuesday of the month, I'm not sure yet. But it's an idea that I've been playing around with, and I'll talk to you about that next month. Show you what I've got planned for that. So for now, I'm just going to wish all you guys stateside happy 4th of July for later in the week. This is going out on the Tuesday, which will be the 1st. So enjoy the celebrations, and I will be back with another tutorial very, very soon here on the channel at JB Crafts. Enjoy your day now, and I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.